back, everybody. It is the Working Brother back at you with another talk. Yet again, George McMillan III is back to give us a rundown of the surveillance state and continue with that part 2 of that case study. George, how you been? Welcome back.
I'm doing great. It's great to be back.
You were meant to stop by, so to say, sometime last week, but you had a little sprained your neck a little bit. Was it a massage that you went for and then sprained it, or did you get the massage in order to get it back?
No, I just went to the regular chiropractor.
Oh, chiropractor. All right.
Yeah.
You know, in Serbian, the chiropractor is called a bone breaker.
Yeah.
Like their medical term is called bone breaker. It's not like slang. Everybody who's new here, like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Everybody who's subscribed, welcome back. Section 2, Surveillance State and Coach Red Pill, also known as Gonzalo Lira. The benefits of case studies. I haven't looked through this. George has this prepared.
All right.
Walk us through it, George.
All right. Yeah, we'll go through half of it, take a break, and then start up the second half. All right. So this video is about comparing the two variables of the surveillance state and CRP situation in Kharkiv. Again, we're doing a case study. We're not just talking about CRP. We want to talk about the wider implications of what's going on in the area. So, so CRP's recent arrest gives us a reason to talk about the surveillance state in general. And I'll be doing this with, Working Brother here, Monster Consortium. And also, I started to do a video the other day with Felix Rex, but that's we'll see if that gets completed or not. He always says he wants to do videos, and then he never gets around to it.
Oh, you mean you recorded something, but he has to go through editing it and compiling it into a little video like he does?
Oh no, he threw it out there, but I mean half the video was on with Michael talking about Ukraine and Belgorod, and then they decided to cover the Turkish elections tomorrow, so everybody tune into that. So I don't know when we're going to get back to this topic, or I just want to unload this video and get it over with and get back to the other topics at this point. Yeah,
we've got a lot more unfinished slide sets to cover.
Yeah. So in slide set 28 here, go ahead and throw up slide set 28. Just throw the slide sets up, minimize us, and go through it. Yeah, there you go. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss other people. So, I mean, the benefit of doing a case study is actually you're doing all three. So you're moving people up the scale, not down. Move to the 29. Yeah, so it covers the it covers the full spectrum of talking about ideas, events, and people. Yeah, move down to 30. We do. I try to do all my slide sets in Graham's hierarchy of disagreement, of getting a central point and really sticking on a point and something that's measurable and definable. All right, that's just go down to the next one. It's a bigger slide, bigger thing of the same thing. All right, so let's move down to 32. Yeah, the title of 1984, Enemy of the State and CRP, is referring to the movie Enemy of the State was with Will Smith and Gene Hackman, and George Orwell's 1984, the dystopian novel about the surveillance state watching you do everything and trying to create the perfect person who is an automaton robot. I snuck in a little an academic book off to the right. It's by Richard Audie. It's Sustaining Development in Mineral Economies. And the crux of the argument is Western governments Yeah, they stopped colonialism, but all they did was they just pay off the elites in power to get the mineral rights, whether mineral or oil or whatever it is, and then a super corrupt regime stays in power forever and doesn't have any change for any kind of serious economic expansion and political liberalization.
Sustainable
so
development.
I added
Sustaining development in mineral economics. Is that like translated from Russian? It sounds like Russian propaganda again.
No, it's the guy's a professor, and I forget which university in England. Anyway,
is it something recent? I mean, like of the last couple of decades,
1997.
Or is it like? All right.
I throw that in there because there's the modern state is basically using three things as owner's manuals. George Orwell's 1984, The Enemy of the State, and then forming alliances with less than democratic governments.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is. Yeah, that's why I throw it in there, because it was supposed to be the thing that you're supposed to avoid.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, they put it out there, and everybody read it, and everybody saw it coming. And yet here we are. Everybody's got a GPS tracking and a selfie camera, and TVs have cameras now, and computers have cameras, and you actually have to hide in the bathroom like in the book.
Yeah, and in Resource Curse, okay, it was that book was written in 1997 when Russia and Eastern Europe was still transitioning to a market economy. Well, if you really want to transition it, you need to break up the businesses and make it as perfect competition as you can.
Yeah.
Okay, not all businesses lend themselves towards perfect competition. Certain things like communications industries definitely tend towards monopoly and oligopoly because everybody wants to be on the same system.
Mm-hmm.
So, but even then, you try to break it up and get a little bit of competition. But what the United States did was they formed these alliances with all these corrupt oligarchs. And then they say, well, these Eastern Europe didn't develop as fast as it should have. Well, they didn't argue for breaking up the oligarchies in Eastern Europe either. In fact, they kind of take advantage of the situation because it's easier to deal with a handful of oligarchs rather than actually a real democracy.
Or in some cases, actual war criminals. In some quasi-states. We won't mention which.
Yeah. All right. So,
moving
moving to 30. Moving right along. Okay. Yeah, this is just a real quick CRP timeline. He happened to be in the Premier Palace Hotel in Kiev.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the 24th to the 27th. He got kicked out of the hotel after he did the video on the System Pigs, I think it was. Yeah, I posted on the Telegram channel back then, and I went back and I found everything recently. Then he went to he took a train back, and then back to Kharkiv to get his family, and did a live stream on March 1st. I have the links to that someplace. Then he did a video a couple weeks later of about the SBU was trying to hunt him down. Let's see. Then moved to 34. Then, like a month later, whatever, he got arrested the first time. So they missed him the first time, but they came back and got him the second time, which was the first arrest.
Mm-hmm.
He was gone for a week. He reappeared on the Duran show. I had the link to that someplace on the slide set and on my Telegram channel. But he said he wasn't going to, he said at the beginning of the Duran show that he wasn't going to discuss how the actual arrest went down. And for me, as we find out more towards the end of this slide set, we won't get it. We'll get it in the second part of today. But when you debrief somebody who's been taken hostage, abducted, arrested, how the event goes down says so much about the government that does it. And again, in the first two videos out of this, we're talking about structural functionalism.
When you say debrief, you mean like debrief before release, yeah?
Well, no, I mean when he came out, brief him about his experience. How was he taken down? Because how it was done indicates so much about how much resources are going to allocate or not allocate. Because the way he was claiming that Kharkiv was under siege, it was like enemies enemies at the gate, and everybody thought that, well, if the system is about to be overrun by the Russians, well, they'll just put a bullet in his head and not spend 5 minutes with the guy. But see, when you get to, what are we on, slide set 34 now?
Yeah.
All right. So he gets relieved and doesn't want to discuss it. And on my Telegram channel, I'm still very curious about how it went down. Felix had tried to get a hold of him after he was on the Duran and tried to set up another video with us, and it never Coach Redpill avoided Felix's show like the plague. He went on everybody else's show and never came back on. But you had found this video from AP that was going around about how they were casually just knocking on people's doors and arresting people, taking them downtown for a few days and then releasing them. Well, at the time, and it's at the end, I conclude the argument with that is I do the structural functionalism. I'm like, well, if they're taking the time to casually knock on people's doors and walk in and look over their electronic devices and look over their bookshelves and see what books they're reading and arrest the guy, I guess they're going to go and fingerprint him, hold him for a couple of days, and they send people out again, is what it kind of appears to be. Well, then that's not a system under stress. That's just a normally functioning system. So, they never were under siege, as he implied. Again, it's he's a novel writer. He's a storyteller. He's never been an analyst. He doesn't know how to do systematic assessments, but he's got a big following. He's not, like I said, he's not an analyst. All right, so let's go to 30. Wait, I moved the wrong one. Let's go to 35 now.
Yeah.
Okay, so all 35 said was, Michael and Felix did like 3 or 4 videos together, and then I think it was the 4th one or the 5th one or whatever. They started inviting me on. They talked to me on a Sunday, and I think I was on the next one. Wait, no, I think I was supposed to do one on a Monday, and Coach Redpill. Well, Coach Redpill and Michael don't get along from the past, from what I understand. I didn't know it at the time. So
if you're new here, I think like, share, and subscribe for more gossip. Yeah. This has turned into a gossip channel instead of a comedy channel, but in itself, gossip is comedy. Like if you look at it from like the outside perspective. Yes, that is the overarching theme of the talk today.
Yeah.
Keep going. So anyway, sorry, I just had to.
Yeah. So then I wasn't okay. So then I was on 3 times with him, just me and Felix, and I always go second. So I let him, talk the first half, and I just kind of sit there quietly. And then when it comes my turn to speak, he always made an excuse to leave. And this was even. This was before the arrest. So then go to 36.
There's the link you were talking about.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then he gets abducted, disappears for a week. I think I did one, maybe two videos with Michael and Felix about that. Then on a Friday, I was actually meeting Felix in New York. Went to a diner on Broadway when I woke up that morning and look at my phone, and he's on with the Duran and everybody's talking about it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, man, maybe he'll come over to our show or Felix's show rather, and discuss it. And that never happened. I asked Felix, have you ever been on with him again? And he did one video, about 6 months ago, maybe it was 7 months ago, with Ian Michael Strong. And apparently that was it. I think that was the only one. So, but he was on everybody else's show that he didn't know, that he had just met, basically, because even then he only knew the Duran for a few months. So for the people that he knew for years and years and years, he wasn't on any of their shows. So that was one of those things that struck people as kind of odd.
Hey, if you say he's got beef with Michael from before, maybe that's why he didn't want to stop by Felix's. I don't know.
Oh,
I can't speak for him.
Right. So then when Coach Red Pill was going to be on, it was just going to be me and Felix. Mm-hmm. But then it when I come on, he definitely didn't want to talk to me either. So I think he was on like 5 or 6 times with Felix. I was on like 3 of them, and he excuses himself early. So I'm like, okay.
Stunt? I don't think this last one was a PR stunt.
I guess I'm not going to be on with him in the future. Damn.
You're always welcome here, and he's welcome here. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So going
I'm a very welcoming brother.
Yeah, so going to 37. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this channel secret. Stunt? Yeah, secret stuff. I throw this up there because a whole bunch of people just really didn't know what to believe. I don't want to say they didn't believe his story. I mean, but it's he had these cryptic, incomplete explanations about everything, and that it caused for a lot of turmoil, which he does on purpose. He likes the attention. I mean, he brings this he brings this on himself. That's what he's into. So I just threw up the secret stuff video of many believe it is a PR stunt. Just because this guy just casually debates the question, but it's just it's very emblematic or just exemplary of what the general discussions were. Did it happen? How did it happen? All right, so let's it kind of ended on this one, because what we want to get in between was when he was in between his arrest. We want to get into the history of the relationship between the surveillance state and big tech. So he was tracked from Kharkiv, or from Kiev to Kharkiv, and there was a failed first arrest. A first attempt, then a first arrest, then a year later a second arrest, which is his current situation now. So what we're talking about as we conclude this first half of this section is we're probably tracking his whole network, because you can tell from watching that API video that I alluded to before, and we're going to allude to it again, just from watching that, if they're rounding up people's networks, you don't want to arrest them too fast. You want to look at the rest of the network first and find out who everybody is. Are they foot soldiers, or a lieutenant, or are they some kind of leader, some kind of captain, or a kingpin. Where do people fall into this?
Planets, moons, and what did you call them? Space debris?
Oh yeah, solar systems, a sun, planets, moons, and space junk.
Space junk.
Yeah.
Do they have comets in this model?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. I mean, there's people that go from one solar system to the other. So yeah, you can certainly have comets, especially since people just hop on planes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, is that everything that you wanted to cover? Because we are only 20 minutes in. If this is half of it, we can keep going and get it all done in one video if you think we can squeeze it all out. I think people have the patience for it.
Okay. So in that case, let's go on to the historical roots of surveillance and big tech.
We were in Ukraine ransomware.
Yeah, so big tech and code breaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, after the U.S., I'm looking at 39 there. Yeah, Bletchley Park. So, yeah, after in 2004, 2005.
Enigma. Bletchley Park is Enigma, right?
Yeah, that's where they decoded the Enigma.
I know some things.
Yes.
Sorry,
so,
George.
Yeah, big tech moved into Ukraine 2004, 2005 to go after ransomware and malware that was emanating from Ukraine. So that means really that all the internet service providers would have been routed through their servers. So they're collecting all the communications from everybody, including cell phones. Everything's going through there.
And do you mean like international as well, or you just mean the Ukrainian side? Everything is going through these nodes.
Everything in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And if they're using it, okay, and possibly other places too. But they're building a network, but they're going to look at what's coming in and out of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's going to be the focus of that one. So in this one, they're talking about, we want to get into the history to show that this surveillance state's been, it's the potential has always been there. So the U.S. government started working with MI6 at Bletchley Park in England. And then if you go to slide 40,
mm-hmm.
During World War II and afterwards, electronics was going to be the big key. So the United States government developed the Department of Advanced Research and Product Administration, and they really just poured billions of dollars into electrical engineering schools, IT schools. So in those days, it started out in the telephone and telegraph, building transatlantic cables and then eventually a trans-Pacific cable. 2, radar and early warning systems since World War I, when they realized that radio waves bounce off ships in the English Channel, and you can capture that. What they found out was it was bouncing back and interfering with their own signals, and their own, their own signals are coming broken and unreadable. But they figured that if they could time it, then you could calculate distance. So then you needed computers to advance communications and radar. So they started investing with that. So we have Colossus machine at Bletchley Park in the late 1930s, early 1940s. So with Bletchley Park, you also get into the fourth item here, which is code breaking. And item number 5 would be the Manhattan Project, and nuclear energy. And number 6 is the aerospace industry. So without these 6 industries, people wouldn't have cell phones and laptops in the first place. The reason why I bring that up is transistors, flat screens, all of this space-saving stuff is designed for fighter cockpits where the space is just really limited. It's moved over to other applications later on, so it starts out as tactical and then goes to practical.
We've discussed this a couple of times in our earlier episodes, some of the really, really long time ago ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then we'll get questions on. I'm still getting questions about stuff we covered several times. As much as we overlap or don't overlap, that's something that I'm going to harp on all the time because people just don't realize. People take these devices for granted without realizing, unless DARPA had spent this money, basically they would not exist. I mean, flat screen TVs are not for home entertainment. They're for they're made to fit in fighter cockpits and things like that, and then tanks. So so everything is tactical and practical. Let's go to 43. Yeah, the U.S. government originally, helped out with the first transatlantic and trans-Pacific cables with AT&T and IT&T. They also put money and encouraged into the invention of the transistor and integrated circuits. Yeah, the transistor was attributed to Bell Telephones at Murray Hill, Bell Labs, and then the integrated circuit with Texas Instruments later. So let's go to the next one, 44. So I have the DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Development Agency. Yeah, it's been lavishly funded over the years. And basically, that's what created Silicon Valley and why the IT companies are all in the military industrial complex. So you have the big Silicon Valley out in California. Then you have all their, their second headquarters is in Northern Virginia, between Tyson's Corner and Dulles Airport. Off to the right on slide set 43, I have a recent article of NASA awards secret $10 billion contract to Amazon. The other agencies have also got these big contracts to these really big Silicon Valley firms. And, people just see these really big, huge server farms. I mean, they just, some of these things are an acre or two, and they're just wall-to-wall warehouses of servers just processing internet information, whether they're backing up corporate data or they're processing people's day-to-day communications like this one. All right, let's go to 44.
This is NASA, or this is the NSA actually cooperating with Amazon or outsourcing from Amazon. Do you think then Amazon then outsources from somebody else? That's my only question.
Yeah. So then we get to 44. On the picture out to the right is Bill Benny talking to Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! And they're, I forget the guy's name. But they were talking about their surveillance state in general, because he was talking about they're collecting everybody's emails and just everybody's communications, in these server farms, because they never really go away. And Google had correlated all the Wi-Fi router and IP addresses from the various internet service providers and correlated it to its Google Maps. They did that decades ago. So here, Bill Benny is talking about he invented Trailblazer and ThinThread to start to organize emails of people into different groups that they belong in. So let's go to 46.
When you say different groups that they belong in, you mean like geographically or
both, geographically and socially. I mean, if you have a job plus a social life and you have other activities outside your work, then you're going to be in multiple social networking groups.
Mm-hmm.
So people are going to be, by their interests. So usually the industry that you're in for your profession is usually going to be your dominant one. And then the other ones are just smaller.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be a local beer league hockey team or whatever. Or you could be partaking in an illegal enterprise of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So all 46 says is okay. Yeah, the day that Gonzalo. Yeah, that's the video where Gonzalo came back on the Duran, whatever day that was. But yeah, the whole time from when CRP went from Kiev and got to Kharkiv and was hiding in the closet, I was telling Felix, I was like, well, they already know who he is. They already have his name. You can watch his videos, so they already know what information is coming out at one end. From his, you have to have an ID with an address on it, with your name and address, to get a SIM card in almost all the countries. So they're going to have that information through one of the account providers. So once they have that, then they can spy on you as much as they want, depending on how much effort that they're going to put into it. So that's why hiding in the closet was never going to work for him, especially after they actually went looking for him. And they missed him the first time because he said he was out smoking a cigarette. So I don't know. It's just kind of odd because if they're really doing surveillance on the guy, him being standing outside the front door smoking a cigarette, well, what kind of surveillance is that? Usually you're going to have somebody in the front door, somebody at the back door, and then the actual entry team goes in the building. So but again, from looking at the API video, the government wasn't rushed. They weren't under the kind of stress that he kind of implied. They're really taking everything casually. So yeah, maybe they casually went in, knocked on the door, casually left the first time. Okay. Yeah. All right. So if you go to if you go to slide 46, yeah, I already covered that. They already have his a copy of his passport, and I don't know if he lives there. He might have a driver's license there. I don't know, but they're going to have some kind of address for him. So once they know, well, okay, they already went to his house and knocked on his door, and they missed him the first time. So that means they know where he lives. So then you can go back and just see what kind of Wi-Fi routers are in that building by going to the different ISP routers. And if they already know exactly what unit he's in, well, then they're already, they can already track him.
The DIIA app.
Okay, yeah, we'll get into that later. So yeah, the whole thing about the hiding in the closet thing, it doesn't do any good. Oh, okay. The picture off to the right on slide 47.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go there. Yeah, that's just CBS did a series of videos that if someone's got your cell phone number and your account number, it's almost impossible. I mean, they can hack your phone and basically there's nothing you can do about it. In this case, if it's a nation state, getting your phone number and all the account information attached to it would be very easily. So if once they hack your phone, then they can suck the information out of it and clone it. So whatever whatever encryption apps you have on your phone. Well, once they've sucked it out of it, duplicated it, and then they have your encryption on it. So your VPNs and other encryption apps become defeated by that process.
But
if they throw enough people on,
I got a question. We keep using the term hack the phone, but is it really like hacking the phone? Because hacking, in my opinion, is like, going past security, and this feels like it's they have a security key that is bypasses security. It's not really hacking. It's just like logging into the phone, right? Yeah,
they have a backdoor. They're really logging into it. Yeah. It's if you have a backdoor into it and you got all the other information, they're using the backdoor. It's not really hacking. It's without the owner's permission, so I say hacking.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is more the backdoor method. So here if they've got his internet communications wired, and they got his cell phone, and they all come in through the to the central servers, well, then they have all of those communications anyway, which is why when he got to Kiev, I told Felix to tell him to leave, and then after he had the first attempt where they missed him, like, he really needs to leave. Anyway, whatever. He chose to stay. He chose to stay there, and he did that whole closet hiding thing. It was just not going to do anything. So we just want to move this thing to a conclusion. I think we got 6 more slides left.
Nice. Big Brother's here. Yes.
Yeah. Big Brother's here.
Yes, George.
I mean, okay. Why did he stay? People speculate, well, the old MGTOW era was over. So Gonzalo went ahead and, reinvented himself as the war correspondent. Okay. He's got no training in how to do assessments.
War commentator, I'd say, not correspondent.
Yeah. He does storytelling and commentary. He's kind of, like I said, just kind of frustrating from
an actual analyst's perspective.
Yeah. Because he's not doing, SALT reports or salute reports where they start talking about size.
Wait, what are SALT and salute reports? You have to educate us.
Just the way to, the size of an army, what their location is, and what their objectives probably are, what their tactics are, what they're actually doing. So they have some different, what kind of weapons they have, things like that. So it's not a breakdown. It's not a systematic breakdown of how many people there, what functions they're performing, what are they probably after.
Yep.
And things like that. I'm used to just hearing a more systematic explanation than what he got.
Tell us about Big Brother, George.
All right. Okay, so why would they miss him? They arrested him, and then they released him, and then they let him go for a year. You don't need a year to do an investigation on him, because you can just download his videos and watch him. He was still talking smack about Zelensky being the cokehead of Kiev every day. And, so as far as that goes, you only had to let him loose for a week to do an investigation.
In his defense, he's not wrong. At least he's the most publicized cokehead of Kiev. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're not. This isn't a defamation case. I mean, it's.
Yeah, you don't have to be like a DEA agent to see that he's right. You know what I'm saying?
I'll go ahead and. I might tend to agree with you there.
I don't know, man. Like, if you see the pictures of like before and after the last year, it
Right.
looks like those pictures of people before and after various different substances. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Over on
what
the
can I
right.
say?
Yeah, over on the right.
Hmm.
Go to slide set 50. Slide 50.
All right.
Yeah. On that slide, again, why are we talking about this? We're talking about this now because Bill Benny's been talking about this for since 2001, 2002. There's three access portfolios. The foreign one is Rampart, third party, and Winstop, second party. If if you're surveilling somebody, you'll surveil them, but then you're going to surveil who they contact and then who they contact. So you get into second and third parties, and then past that, one hop, two hops, three hops.
Hmm.
Corporate surveillance is Blarney, Fairview, Stormbrew, Oakstar, Prism, and FAA. Then they have some unilateral groups that he always talks about. Yeah, I guess we're allowed to talk about this because they've left his videos up there for years, right? Or I guess they're going to track me next. I don't know. Well, whatever. I don't know. So I'm just telling people to watch I've been watching the Bill Benny videos for years and years and years, and having discussions with people about them that are in the IT industry. So when the whole CRP thing went down, this information was given to him right away. That's the crux of this. Right now, we're just breaking the case down and telling everybody the amount of information that they're sending is it never goes away if you put it on the internet.
Hmm.
And if they really want you bad enough, they can find it and can and will use it against you, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's go to
obviously.
slide 51. So yeah, why would they catch him and then release him? Um, it's to track his social network. They want to know everybody who was trying to call him immediately, especially the week that he was abducted, because they're going to be the closest in his orbit. And then they're going to track those people. Then once he starts doing his shows, okay, he's doing them in English, not Ukrainian or Russian, but they're going to want to know who's listening to that, and then what are they doing with the information. Okay, the guy's got no real information. I mean, I glanced at somebody in the comment section as I was going back and looking at the different videos, trying to get the timeline sequence right. And someone said that, we were helping him do espionage. And I thought that was a joke because he would need a lot more training to be effective. I mean, anyway, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, he would actually have to be broken down how to do assessments and then how to communicate the assessments, which means he would need a lot of training. Okay, go on to 52. So yeah, now the question is, and again, I'm not breaking any new ground here. You go in the comment section of the videos that were taken while he was before he was arrested, while he was arrested the first time, and then afterwards. Everything has already been argued out in the comment section like crazy, which is why I put that guy's video up there, whether it was a PR stunt or not. Is he an unwitting asset to Ukraine, meaning he's there, they can track, get his network, find out everybody, do a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 hops and see what the networks are. In that case, leave him alone for a year. Let him talk to as many people as possible, and then just see who those people are and figure out what you want to do down the road. as you can see when they did the first API arrest, and then you see the second arrest where they just knocked on the door. They didn't do a dynamic room entry. They didn't abduct them on the streets. They just knocked on the door, very casual. Or was the whole thing prearranged? They gave him an offer when they arrested him the first time. They gave him an offer that he couldn't refuse. They say, look, you're going to go back. You're going to be under house arrest. Keep on doing what you're doing. We're going to arrest you down the road. We'll give you a light sentence, and then we want to deport you. Did they do a deal like that? The problem with that is, and the reason why we're talking about that is, see, he wanted to reinvent himself and build an audience. He did the whole closet thing because he wanted to get build up his Patreon. Okay, I get it. That's how he makes his living. Good for him. Even though it's completely worthless. But by doing that, he's not taking care of his wife and kids. Mm-hmm. Then whoever else, if they're tracking him, which they are, then anybody around him, he's putting in danger. So it's not just yourself. So it's kind of a very, self-centered move for him staying there, because it's not just him, it's everybody around him. Yeah. We talk about, they've been rounding up and killing a lot of Russian sympathizers. It's being discussed in the other videos. So, I mean, how many people did they track through his network? Because of, cross-referencing different groups. Probably way more than you think. So it's, it's not just him, it's everybody else. So here's, if you go to 54, we'll just wrap this up in a couple of minutes. We only got a couple of slides left if we're going to do it this way. All right, I went ahead and I posted what I wrote on, I don't know, whatever day that was. Because people were puzzled, like, oh, he was arrested. He was just released. He was, they're like, I was like, no, I want to know how the arrest went down. I want to know how he was held. I want to know, because with the structural functional analysis, you can tell so much about a government. So in this case, I mentioned it up front in the video, but if you're looking at the API video, and the first one, and even the second one, when they did a second arrest, they're both very casual knock arrests. They wait till he comes out. It's not a dynamic room entry, and it's just, everybody's just walking slowly, and they're casually going over his documents and looking at his phone, and they're filming the event. In both times, the AP and this one. Well, I mean, obviously the government is not under stress. They're not under siege. They never were under siege. I'm not sure when Kharkiv Live came on Telegram, but you can go and watch that channel on Kharkiv and see what life is like in the streets. So yeah, it just wasn't. He just exaggerated it. I mean, he's an entertainer. He's very entertaining. I mean, I used to watch him too. So, okay. So I started talking about, Kharkiv wasn't under stress. It wasn't a dynamic kill capture mission. Very, very, very routine. So when you put this into terms of Cooper's color codes, it wasn't in orange. It wasn't in red. It was a very yellow level routine arrest procedures is what it looked like. But yeah, that's why I want to do these kind of after action reports, after action reviews. You go over it with somebody and you really just see what their mindset is, but also the people that, the way it's done and the sense of urgency or lack of it, it says so much about the government that sent them. So in 56 or 55 rather, yeah, it's going to be just to kind of Okay, we're going to close out the slide and just two more slides. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether he's in prison for a long time or a short time, and whether they had a prearranged deal or not. Again, everybody's speculating on no, he's going to be arrested and he's going to be in jail for 8 years or 10 years or whatever they say. Or some people say, well, he's got a deal, they're going to let him loose. Well, we'll see which one it is. But yeah, they certainly would have collected his network and whatever neighboring networks that he's around. And then the last one, yeah, they overlap. Redacted. Well, Clayton Morris, he did a video on, and he covered Max Blumenthal in the Gray Zone, talking about the DIIA app. Samantha Power was on there talking about it.
What is DIIA?
Okay, it means action in Ukraine, and it's a joint app between Google and Visa and USAID. They want everybody in Ukraine to download it on their phone. Everybody downloads it on their phone, okay? And then all the school teachers and the administrators and everybody like that will get paid. Or if the banks become unfunctionable, then then regular civilians can use the app to send and receive money over their phone. So then, of course, they would be giving Google and DIIA your phone number, your address, and then, okay, these things all have GPS in them correlated to Google Maps. So Google's going to be able to basically track everybody in Ukraine. Now, the good thing about this is we were in Iraq and Afghanistan, and people want to know where this idea came from. And the government will say, well, they'll pay X amount of dollars per soldier and policeman to keep them on the job. And that's what the money that they're going to give them is earmarked towards. And then, they say that they have 500,000 soldiers when, in fact, they only have 300,000. So then the elites are pocketing 200,000
salaries.
The paychecks of 200,000 salaries and putting it in their own pocket. So the U.S. government
sounds familiar.
So the reason why I threw in Richard Audie's resource curse book is the West is still using autocratic government, less than democratic forms of government that are notoriously corrupt, and then they're trying to manage that corruption. So it's easier to deal with a handful of oligarchs to run a country than actually liberalize it into a democracy. So that right there is a contradiction. So to mitigate the problems of the contradiction, they then want to take the money and give it directly to the employees, through this app. So if you're trying to make sure that people aren't ghost posting soldiers and ghost posting policemen like they did in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then pocketing the money into the pockets of the corrupt government, this DIIA app would be effective in doing that part. So yes, I can see why they would want to do that. People have been suggesting this for decades because the Karzai and Ghani governments were so corrupt and inefficient in Afghanistan. But on the other hand, however much control the United States has by all the internet service providers are sending their stuff through Google and Symantec and all these other security firms, IT firms that are so-called Silicon Valley firms. They're collecting everybody's information anyway. So this is just an increase of how to run another society to another level where they have really everybody's information.
It's like
They
the
can
digital
also
passport,
tell.
digital ID, basically. It's like a proto digital ID, digital passport, and digital wallet.
Yeah. So suppose you're an Ukrainian male and you fled the country so you don't get drafted, but yet you got to get your money out of a Ukrainian bank. Well, if they switch over to this, they might compel you to use the DIIA app to extract your funds. Well, then they know that you're not in the country, and then they can maybe get you back, or I don't know. Or if you ever come back, they can arrest you.
A couple of
Yeah,
months
it's
ago,
just
there was news in Poland that they were going through like the registered male refugees who were of military age and grabbing them basically and sending them back.
yeah,
So in a way or another, that's already begun. But yeah, it's total population control basically in the biggest democracy in Europe with the least
yeah.
corruption. That's what Ursula said.
So sorry to use CRP's plight here to talk about the bigger issue, but yeah, people, their information is more tightly controlled than one would think. Somebody was talking about whether using a VPN works. Well, not really. If they're targeting you, no.
From what I understand, even using the old Nokia style phones doesn't help either, because the FIA or FAA, what are they called? The communicate FCC, FCC.
FCC
That's
in
what.
the United States.
Yeah, the FCC from the 90s, the late 90s, I believe it's like 97 or something, has required a backdoor in the old school SIM cards and the interface on phones, even before they went to the whole micro SIMs and built-in batteries and whatnot. So even those brick phones, like the only thing you can do is turn it off.
Yeah, wouldn't about it. Anyway, yeah, we went ahead and covered this. So
Excellent. George, what can we look forward to next time that you come on? We have a
I
lot
think
of unfinished business, so to say.
I want to get back into. I got another project going on that's going to be that's going to apply methodologies to investing. But with this channel, we want to stick with. I want to stick with the 8 power center theory because we need to take that up from it was 2 months ago. We want to start
something like that.
We want to actually start saying under what conditions governments will start to change. Like, okay, right now, the Japanese government with Kishido is very nationalistic. They want the Kurils back. They would like to have some of the other islands back, but it's unlikely that that's going to happen. But in the event of a war, where all of a sudden their country becomes, can't get any energy at a reasonable price, it would create the conditions that you would have a big economic crash would create the conditions for a big political change. It could happen in Japan, South Korea, and Germany. So in a year or two, if big German industries start to go out of business and people start to get out of work and their economic and living standards start to decrease and they go crazy and they elect a whole totally new government to take them in a totally new direction, do they realign with Russia and get away from NATO? So that's what you're looking at. So, because I'm always, I can see in some of the comment sections, people get confused. I'm always talking about, I'm really always talking about 2 years out. They think because I'm talking 2 to 5 years out that I don't know what's going on right now.
Speaking of the comment section, I wanted to bring up something, and now that you mention it, why not? One of the comments that's been sitting on the channel for a while is interpretation, let's say, of what your presentation is when you say socialism. Do you mean socialism or do you mean national socialism?
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. We mentioned socialism a couple of times in one of our talks, and one of the commenters was asking, like, actually, he was accusing you of saying that when you say socialism, you actually mean National Socialism. But I doubt that's the case.
Oh, yeah. No, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah, he's right. It's the fusion between government and private enterprise, which would be fascism,
Mm-hmm.
not socialism. But yes,
Yeah.
National Socialism is the fusion. Well, that is fascism, and that is the fusion between government and industry. Yes, is what's occurring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether it's the West wants international socialism, which technically would be international fascism. Yeah, they want to have a socialist government with a high degree of social services and a high degree of cooperation with corporate enterprise.
The jokes write themselves.
Yeah, the jokes write themselves. So yeah, he's trying. I don't know. Some of the commenters, if they have something to say, just make the clarification. I don't know. Sometimes they're trying to play stump the professor or whatever. Rather than, if they want to make a clarification, just make the clarification.
Yeah.
Yes, I know what the differences are.
In any case, in case the commenter disagrees, he's welcome to comment again. And if I misrepresented his original comment, I'm sorry. And maybe when you come back, I'll have a screenshot of it and we can discuss it in detail, along with the context of which actual talk we're talking about. But in any case, George, it's been an excellent talk. We just pushed it over the hour mark. I can't believe we turboed through that whole section. I'm very proud of the tempo that you kept.
Most of it, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of overlap between that and the first couple parts anyway.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. George, thank you again. I'm going to play some music to take us out. Everybody, like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. See you very soon.